Welcome to video 3 on the bonus videos. We're going to cover Smart Animate. We're going to build a loader, a screen loader using Smart Animate, and we're going to look at horizontal and vertical swiping and scrolling. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to the file here. I'm going to press Command period, which will show all of my Figma interface. That's what I'm doing here. Pressing Command period to remove everything, Command period to see all of my interface tools within Figma. Let's go where we left off at, which was building up this menu. Let's grab the starter, point over here, and let's just quickly go look at the example for Smart Animate. So what Smart Animate does, essentially it will animate your set of screens to show the next screen, and we covered that in the last series of videos. I'm just going to touch on it briefly. There's a couple things, common mistakes that I found over and over by using Smart Animate that I just want to highlight, and some quick little tips for you. Press R on the keyboard, but again, we've prototyped this circle here, and you can see how it animates to the next screen with the bigger circle, and if you click the bigger circle, it clicks and goes back down. So very, very rich animation for a really simple technique to do. So high results, simple to do. So what we're going to do is grab the start label over to the section that you do. All we have to do literally is grab this circle, prototype it over to the screen next to the right, and instead of move in, we just press Smart Animate, and it's going to do all the work for us. And let's go ahead and click the circle here, drag back over, and Smart Animate, and you can see that interaction happening here and here. Real quick, you can control the transition speed. So if we go back to the one here, let's say it's 800 milliseconds, and you'll see they will be a little bit slower, and then the close will go faster. You can even change the color if you want to as well. Let's go over to Design. Let's change it from Pink Candy to this blue one here, and you'll see it slowly change colors as well. Awesome. Pretty cool. Okay. Another common thing that I just want to briefly touch on is a mistake that happens quite often. I'm going to drag this. You don't have to follow me on this one. I just want to call it out for the sign up and the login here that happens. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is the thing to avoid. And I'm first going to show you the problem here. So if I tap on login, you'll see how there was no transition. There was no sliding of this pink triangle over to the login screen. And what we really want is something to look more like this here, where I'm going to copy over this screen. I'm going to grab the login details. I'm going to delete all of this. I'm gonna grab the login text, press bold, Command B to bold it, make it 100%, and I'm gonna go ahead and do another Command B to unbold, make this a light font, and I'm gonna take the same rectangle here, and here's the key. I'm grabbing this same rectangle from the last screen, and I'm gonna slide it over to login. And now when we press the login to this screen and the sign up back over to this screen, all with Smart Animate. So you'll see login, Smart Animate. When I click the sign up, goes back over to sign up with the Smart Animate. You'll see the transition is much better. So see how that transition really smartly over. So what happens here is if, let's say I copied the sign up screen and I deleted this rectangle and I created a new one, this gray one here. That's what causes the problem here. So you'll see now when I go back over to sign up, it doesn't transition, and it's because Figma, before, when you use the same rectangle here, Figma identifies this rectangle as the same rectangle that you're using in the login screen. So it knows you're saying, I want this rectangle to move over to this side of the artboard by using Smart Animate, where if you draw a new rectangle, it doesn't distinguish between the pink rectangle here should be the gray rectangle here. It treats it as two different elements. So it's really important to kind of get through that concept. So I'm going to Command Z back a little bit. So you can see I'm telling Figma during this prototype here to Smart Animate over to this login screen that I want this same rectangle over here. So it identifies that. It's saying, oh, at sign up, this rectangle lives here. And at login, the same rectangle lives over here. And the Smart Animate's going to do its job to do the animation to move it over here. But again, if it's something new that you drawn, it breaks that relationship that you have here. And another thing that happens sometimes during Smart Animate is you'll notice that some things just go weird. Let's see, you'll usually see elements like fly around the screen, like say this eyeball goes flying in, or the boba tea does something different. It's hard to reproduce because it happens every now and then. You'll see some weird functions with the Smart Animate. And so the trick is a Smart Animate has to do a lot with grouping. So if you're seeing some weird UI elements fly around the screen, take the first screen and group everything. So let's say none of these were grouped here. Go ahead and do a Command G, or you can do an object and group. I'm going to do, or if you're on a PC, Control G. But I'm going to group all the elements here and pretty much just group everything that isn't the thing that you want to animate. Group the buttons. You can even group all of this, the button and the form fields. And so just start grouping things. And I promise once you start grouping, you'll notice the animation or the element that you're trying to animate will animate a lot better. So just a little trick. If you're having problems with the Smart Animate feature and it's not animating properly, start grouping elements, and you hopefully will see a change in that. Okay, let's go have some fun now. Let's go build out this loader here. So I'm going to grab the start level over to the screen underneath loading. I'm going to press play, and what we're going to build is something that looks like that. So you see it loads in, and then you have a transition from the title bar here at the top of the map. Okay, so let's go do that on the one that says you do. Let's grab the start. Let's pop that over here. And this is really simple. We just want to copy this page. So I'm going to select the artboard. I'm either going to do option, and that's going to copy and drag the same artboard here. Or I'm going to do a Command C and a Command V, as in Victor, and that's going to paste it. I'm going to remove the start one label. So you can see on the prototype it says flow starting point, start one. Just press the minus sign here. See where it says delete starting point, and delete it. And all we want to do is grab this. I'm going to go to the design tab and grab the pink loading bar and just move it all the way over to the top. And this is where we're going to combine the delay function that we just learned about. So we select the whole prototype, the whole artboard, click and drag it over to the loading part here. And again, we don't want tap, we want after delay. And let's do a small delay. Let's do about 100 milliseconds. And we want the Smart Animate, but we want a longer ease in or longer delay to it. So let's do 20,000 milliseconds. So that'll be 2 seconds. So a 2-second sort of load state. Let's go press the play button, and you should see that interaction here. We haven't defined anything to happen after this screen, so all you should see is just the loading happening. So again, we've taken the beginning screen here. We've set it to do a really quick, within less than a second, it will load to this screen, and then it does the soft delay and transitions the pink rectangle from the beginning of that screen to the end. So that's the smart animation, the smart animate doing its magic. And the same thing, we want to go ahead and look at the screen here. And we want to drag this over here. And the same deal, we want after delay, very slow or very quick delay, so 100 milliseconds. And we can do a smart animate as well. And so you'll see now when you start this, it then loads the San Francisco map with the title bar at the top and the nav bar at the bottom. Okay, but let's have some fun here. So if you remember in the last prototype here, you'll see a delay, you'll see a transition. Do you see how the title bar there transitioned down? It slid down like that. That's a pretty cool transition, where you can see the one that we've done, it hasn't done that. It just loads the map. You can see how it dissolves in. So let's go ahead and create a transition state for this. This is a little hack that you can use. So again, we have after delay, we have smart animate, and what we want to do is we want to first grab the title bar section here in this screen, and let's place it onto the loading screen here. And let's also grab this nav bar section and let's place it into this screen. So Command V. So I'm just pressing Command C when I have these elements, selecting the artboard at the top here, and pressing Command V. Now I'm going to select this graphic element here, the nav bar or the title bar. I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to arrow up and just move it out of the way. You can't even see it. It becomes hard to select it. You know it's there when you click and drag your selection. And I'm going to do the same thing for the navigation bar at the bottom. I'm going to just move it out of the way. So you can see it's still there. So what we're saying to tell Figma is that on the next screen with the Smart Animate, recognize these two shapes and move this shape down to transition into position over here on the map screen. Okay, let's go look at that prototype. See how it slid in like that? A little bit of a slow transition, but I think that works cool. Very nice. All right, so a little hack there on the Smart Animate function. Okay, let's go look at some hover real quick and some pressing transitions. So on the prototype. So pretty much hover, you hover your mouse over it, you'd see the dot. There's no hover in mobile devices, so this is just for you to see how hover works as a prototype. You'd only use this for desktop websites and desktop application design, but you can see it here and learn it here. And the next thing we're going to do here is a pressing interaction, which I'll show you here, and we'll get into it. And this works really well for graphs. So you can see I have a graph here, and I want to press or scrub this graph. And when I tap and hold, I see the details for 2016. So let's say we're measuring hugs here. There was 513 hugs in 2016. That's pretty awesome. It means you got more than a hug a day. And you could just, and how this would work when you would engineer this is you can just scrub your finger across the graph and be able to see the details at each one of these levels here. All right, let's go back to the file. Let's grab the start point over to the one that says you do. Very easy here. Just select the circle, go over here. Keep it on Smart Animate, but instead of on tap, we want while hovering. Go into the prototype, and you can see when your mouse enters it, it changes color. A little bit too slow of a delay, so let's go look at that delay here. Yeah, so 200 milliseconds. Let's change it back over to just 300 milliseconds here. So 300 ms. Close it, and now we should have a good hover state. Okay, that feels good. Let's move on over to the graph screen here and learn how to do the press state here. So What I'm going to do is take this artboard here, and again I'm holding Option. I'm going to click and drag, copy this screen here. While I'm in the Prototype tab, see this says Flow Starting Point. Press minus to delete the starting point, so that way it starts on this screen. And then I'm gonna copy over the 513 hugs here. Just click and drag. I'm gonna group it, Command G, just so it's all in one shape. So we have it here. I'm gonna paste it in place. And now we're gonna select, just click and drag. I'm gonna hold Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to select pretty much all the bars except for the one that we want to highlight when we scrub. And I'm going to make these all 30% opacity so they go away. And we're going to do the same thing for the dates. Let's grab everything but 2016. Let's make these 30% opacity on the layer within the Design tab. And we're looking good. Okay, and so what we want to do here is you can do two things. You can select the 2016 bar, and you can do the prototype straight from here. Or you can make a larger tap area. So I'm going to grab a rectangle. You can also use the quick key on the keyboard as R. I'm going to make a rectangle that's just a little bit bigger for the 2016. Just so there's a larger tap space. And now I'm going to drag this rectangle over to the artboard where we have the 513 hugs. And the prototype function for this is not on tap, but we want while pressing. And we don't need to do Smart Animate. Let's do a dissolve. So it's just a kind of a delay, a little bit of a delay. And let's go back to the Design tab here. Now that we know this gray area is the prototype target for the next screen, let's go ahead and turn it to 0% opacity on the pass-through layer. And now we should see that interaction. Go ahead and press play, go over to your prototype, and then just click and hold 2016, and you'll see that one area highlight. And when you let go of the mouse, you'll see it unhighlight. So it's the same thing. If you open this up on the Figma, if you download Figma on your phone and you log in, you can see the same. You can test the prototypes on your phone, and this will be the same as you putting your finger down and tapping and holding with your finger. You would see the top level 513 hug show up, and then when you let go of your finger, you'll see it go back to this state. Okay, pretty simple. Let's go into a little bit more of a complicated interaction, which is horizontal swiping. So I just drag the start area over to the horizontal swiping area artboard. I'm going to press play, and so here's what we're going to build out, which is if you swipe these cards here, you can see there's horizontal swiping. We have the food one too as well. Okay, it looks pretty complicated, but it's actually pretty simple here. We're just going to do one. We'll do the animals. So go ahead and drag the start section over to the artboard that says you do. And you can see I have a whole set of cards here for each animal. And one of the cool plugins that I use to get all these photos, let's say I have a bunch of squares here, is I can go to a plugin. It is called Content Reel or Unsplash. Let's go look at Unsplash. And Unsplash will give me a bunch of random photos. So let's say I want animals here. It will populate all of these rectangles here with photos. I can do art, populate with art. So it's an easy way to just get a bunch of free photos that you can have in Figma. And if you triple click into them, you can see from the Design tab, you can crop them a little bit if you want to. I'm going to go from fill to crop. You can see how it crops it for you to fit. Okay, a little pro tip, but let's go ahead and start building out the horizontal swiping for the animal. So when you click and swipe, either left or right. So the first thing we want to do here is whatever elements that we want to make horizontal swipe, move them out of your artboard. So I've already did that for you, but just start with the elements that you want to create that are behind the screen here. But get them all laid out in front of you, like put all the chess pieces on the board per se. What we want to do is we want to also select each one of these and group it. So I'm going to select this one, I'm going to Command G or Control G. You can also right click and say group. So if these were ungrouped here, it would look something like this. Then I would right click and I would go over here to group selection or Command G. So I've already grouped these for you, but just making sure that they're all grouped here, just so they're easily selectable. And now let's select all of them. I'm going to click and drag to select all of these. And then here's what's really important, is I'm going to right click on these and I'm going to frame this selection. So again, select all of these, really important here, right click, frame the selection. And you can see on the menu, on the layers here, I have all of these grouped. And when I right click and I go to frame selection, you'll see it's framing, it grouped all of these images into a frame here. And you can let's call this one animals. So I have a frame here called animals that has all of the images and the cards that we just created and grouped in each one. So if I want to select the bear here, if I want to select the tiger. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to drag this artboard. So I'm going to click the animals. Make sure you have the artboard layer selected. I'm going to drag it into this artboard. And you know it's in the artboard because it will highlight blue. So make sure it's in the artboard. One of the ways to test this is select the artboard here and move it around. If these don't move, sometimes it will look like this. You won't have it in the artboard. It will look like it's in the artboard. But when you move this artboard, oops, let me try it again. Okay, so yeah, it will look like this, and then when you move the artboard, you'll notice, oh wait, these aren't in the artboard, which would also mean they didn't show up in your prototype too. So again, just make sure that your artboard here, this layer, is inside of the animal artboard here. So you can see right here, it's not in the artboard yet. So I'm going to Command C. I'm going to select the artboard and I'm going to paste it inside. So now when I move it, you can see how it's there. Okay, so here's the key piece to make this horizontal scroll. So select the animal frame here. So in your layers palette, just select the animals. And what we want to do is we want to hold Command from the right here and drag and sort of crop in this frame direction. This is really important. So again, if you're clicking and dragging and it looks like this, you don't have the artboard layer selected. So again, go back and select where it says animals on the artboard level and hold Command and drag this in just to the right of that artboard. And we can still see all of the photos here. So what we want to do here is on the Design tab here, the top right, where it says Clip Content, go ahead and click that. And what it's going to do is it's going to clip the content from where we drag this arm here. So it's clipping the artboard. So we're almost cropping this frame here, and we're allowing the clip content to clip that content so we don't see it. It's also a good idea to make sure to add a little bit more space on the bottom and on the top of this cropping, so that way the shadow comes in. And also move this line here all the way to the left. That's really important. I'll show you why. I'll do two options where it's not, and you'll see the difference. So we're pretty much done. We're ready to make this prototype and make this frame a horizontal swipe. So it's very simple. All we need to do is go to prototype here and see where it says overflow scrolling. Just do horizontal scrolling. And now let's go look. Yours should have the horizontal scrolling. So if you tap and click, you'll see the cards moving in this direction. Okay, and so the reason why to pull the artboard out all the way to the left is so the images look like they scroll beyond the device. So I'm going to not do that. I'm going to do it halfway. Let's just say here. And you can see what happens. See how they don't scroll all the way over to the end of the device. It looks odd. It's like it's going into a blank land. So what we want to do here is always make sure that it's all the way to the end of that artboard to make it look like it's going right to the end of where the device lives. Cool, there you go. There's horizontal scrolling. Let's go do vertical scrolling here, which is pretty much the same technique. Very simple. So again, we have the top level navigation here. And it's the same idea, it's just the cards scroll here. So let's go ahead and move the start one over to the artboard to the right that says you do. Again, I have all of these selected here. And again, just make sure each one is grouped. I'm just going through Command G on all of these, making sure they're all grouped. Again, I'm going to select all of them at once. Very, very important. Go ahead and frame the selection. Now we can know by looking at the layers on the left that it was a frame. Let's name this one Animals again. And we can see when we select the animal framing on the left that there's all of the groups and the cards within it. Same kind of deal. We're going to come in, drag this into the artboard here, go to the bottom and hold Command, slide this all the way up, go back over to the Design tab, and remember, clip this content. Now we can see the content's being clipped. And again, we're going to add some space to the left, add some space to the right, and we want it to come in just where the beginning of that menu is, so it looks like it's scrolling underneath that menu. And now that we've done that, we're good to go. We can go to Prototype, we can do no scrolling, and we can do vertical scrolling. And now if we press play, you'll see here. Same function. Okay, cool. So let's go look at combining both of those to make a really cool looking map interaction. So you can go ahead and grab the start label and drag that over to where it says vertical and horizontal swiping. I'm going to show you the example here in the prototype. So you have a map, and you can see with both of those vertical and horizontal swiping capabilities, it makes for a really great map interaction where you're clicking and swiping. Very simple, again. So let's go ahead and pull the start one over to you do. I have this big map image here. All we got to do is just drag this into this file, and you can see how it's still a big image, and it's going to be cropped a little bit. That's good. That's what we want. But same deal that we did with all of the card level pages. We want to go ahead, since this is one element, we don't need to group it, but let's go ahead and right click on it, and let's frame this selection. Okay, so you can see now on the left we have a frame. Let's call it map. And inside of this map we have the image. Let's go back and select the frame level here. So make sure that you're on the frame, not the mapsicle map image, the frame. And let's do the same thing. Hold Command, drag this in to the left, hold Command, drag it in from the right. This is really important you do this, or else the vertical and horizontal swiping won't work. So we're pretty much masking this image here. So if you looked at it, if I pulled this back out, you don't need to do this, but if I pulled this back out, you can see here that we still have the map, we have the framing. We haven't done the clip content yet, so if you clip the content, it looks like that. But you can see the frame here. We framed up the map. So all we need to do now is go back into this artboard, make sure you select on the left layers here. We select the map, do the clip content. So again, I'm on just the map artboard, not the entire artboard, just the map. You can see I can even clip it a little bit lower from the menu here is fine as well. It would be the same interaction. Go ahead and go to prototype, go to scrolling. So again, I'm selecting just the map frame here on the left. I've done prototype, and let's go do horizontal and vertical scrolling. And now if we go to the play button, yours should look something like this. Alright, that was pretty fun. Hope you got a lot out of that video. And on the next video here, we're going to learn some scroll to functions, component variants, and we'll wrap up with the interactive components. Thanks. See you soon.